Welcome back to our OA class. The rain is falling a bit outside, and before you guys sit down, let's do an activity to warm us up. So, I was looking on the internet and I saw some cool dance move, and a new one is called the floss. It's been around for some time, and I think that we should try it out. I know some of you guys are familiar with the floss, and I'm no dancer. It's just cool. It's a cool dance move. I think that we should just try before our lesson to just liven our lesson up a little bit, right? So let me demonstrate. I'm no dancer. I noticed that the dancer they start by moving their hips from left to right. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then they bring their hands. And they go behind. And they go on the left side. I'm not professional, but you guys are ready to try it. So before you guys sit, okay? Everyone's ready? So let's start with our hips. From left to right. Yep, that's correct. That's doing it. Let's incorporate our hands now. In front, swing. Let's go behind. Yep, that's it. That was fun. Alright, just settle down. You guys will have a seat. And let's get ready for today's lesson. Before we get into today's lesson, can someone or anyone sitting there tell me what we did in the last class? So just refresh the class, what we did in the last class. Yes. Let's change out. Yes, we did the communication. Can someone except Chandrauti tell me what else we did? Yes, Lindsay, we talked about the classifications of communication in the last class. And what are the classification class? Yeah, that's correct. They are formal, informal, official and unofficial forms of communication. In this week's lesson, we're going to look at the means of communication. There are 4 means of communication. I'm going to focus on one of that mean, and we're going to go a little bit in depth in that lesson, in that mean. So at the end of this lesson, you guys should be able to know what are the means of communication and be able to describe the oral mean of communication, which we're going to get into later into this lesson. So let's get ready for class, and let me get my projector. In today's lesson, we're going to look at the channels or the mean of communication. What are we looking at? Channel or means of communication. When we say channel or means, we're talking about the form or how we communicate, how we make contact or send a message to someone. And there are many ways that we can make contact or send a message to someone. And we're going to place them into various categories. There are 4 means of channel of communication. They are oral, written, visual, and electronical. What are they again? Oral, written, visual, and electronical mean of communication. Today we're going to focus on the oral mean of communication. Does anyone know what the word oral mean? Yes, you one day. Yes, it means to talk, right? Yes, oral mean to talk. When we're talking about oral mean of communication, we're talking about how we communicate using spoken words. So oral mean of communication is done by talking, in other words. Can someone give me some example of ways we can communicate orally? Yes, that's correct. Talking to our parents or talking to our friends, having a meeting. Okay, that's all good answers. So I'm going to give you guys some forms of oral communication, and I'm going to give you some notes. So I'm going to explain it a bit, and then we're going to have a discussion afterward on what I have explained to you guys. So if you have any question, you will please ask. So there are various ways we can communicate orally or spoken communication. There are interviews, there are meetings and conferences, there are also the radio and the telephone. So let's talk about interview. What's an interview? Does anyone know what an interview is? That's correct. Interview is when you have a conversation between two persons, or a person going for a job and you want to interview them, or you need to interview them for some specific reason. So an interview is a conversation between two or more persons in which the interviewer or the person who is hosting the interview asks questions in which the interviewee answer or respond. Interviewer is the person who is being interviewed. The interviewer is the person hosting the interview, and the interview is the person being interviewed. And what's an interview again? It's a conversation between two or more persons in which the interviewer asks the interviewee certain question and they respond. What kind of question you ask? They can ask whatever question that is related to the interview. For example, if you're going to seek a job interview, they will ask you a question relating to the job and yourself. They won't ask you a question unrelated. Or if you, well, I know that you guys have to do your SBA and you'll be doing interviewing as a part of your SBA. And if you're looking at the accounts department and you're going to carry out interview, you won't go and interview someone asking them question unrelated to the accounts department. An interview should ask relevant question to whatever specific reason the interview is being held for. And of course, the interviewee can ask questions to the interviewer. They can find out, for example, if they're going for a job, they can ask what are the working hours or the rate of pay and so forth. And when you are, let's say you guys are in a position that you are the boss or a manager and you're having someone over to being interviewed for a job position, you need to prepare yourself for that interview. You need to find out the questions that need to be asked and the manner in which you will ask them. And when you're on an interview, you need to be alert. You need to be courteous. And you need to respond with the appropriate answer. So let's move on to meetings. Now we're going to look at meetings. I know you guys have heard the term meetings before. A meeting is a gathering of persons, usually for a specific predetermined purpose. So what does all of those words mean? I know it sounds a little bit highfalutin, but it means that people gather to discuss something that of importance or that they have predetermined, mean that they have thought about before or see that they need attention to address. So a meeting is a gathering of persons for a specific predetermined reason. And there are several forms of meeting which we're going to look at in a later part of the syllabus. And some of these are staff meeting, departmental meetings, general meeting, annual general meetings, and board and committee meetings. We're going to look at those types of meeting later on in the syllabus. But for now, you guys need to know what is a meeting. And a meeting is what again? It's a gathering of persons for a specific predetermined reason. They can discuss a predetermined reason or see the way forward or to determine what should be done for a specific situation. Now a conference is like a large meeting, and there are usually many presenters, more than one person speaking, because it's such a large gathering. So a conference is a large meeting where there are usually many presenters who are assigned specific topics or to talk on specific topics. A conference is a formal event. We'll have consultations, discussions, and presentations with the aim of coordinating, exchanging, and disseminating information. What is it again? A conference is a formal event at which person have consultation, they ask questions, they find out things they don't know, discussions, discussion, you're talking to each others, sharing information, and presentation when you are presenting information or giving information, putting out information there. And with the aim of coordinating all of these information, exchanging information, and disseminating into sharing out the information. So a conference is like a large meeting where there are more than one persons speaking, or are they speaking on different topic, because if you are presenting at a large crowd and it's for long hours, that you get tired talking, or you might get a little bit hungry or a little bit dizzy or so talking so long. So there are different persons, or you might be an expert on one topic, but you might in the next topic that is supposed to be talked about, you don't have much information on that. So they have different persons speaking on different topics or different part of the conference. We're now going to look at radio and televisions. And radio and television have become a large part of our daily life. And a lot of organizations and companies use radio and television to get information about various products or new products out to large number of people via advertising the product. And this is called a commercial. In other ways, they use something called infomercial. And infomercial is like a long commercial, but they're providing information about a new product or a product that the company wants to advertise. They provide a lot more information and trying to convince the viewer to purchase or try that product. So in that way, radio and television is communicating, and the person is talking orally through the television and the radio, and you are listening, so you are understanding what they're saying, and the person is talking through the radio and the telephone, communicating that information to you. Look at the telephone next. And the telephone is a standard form of our life now. And most companies, or almost every company, use the telephone because it's a way of communicating with suppliers and customers. And it's a way to help the business stay on track of goods being brought in, or goods being shipped out, or how many stocks they have. So telephone have become a vital part of a business everyday life. Now that we have finished discussing the various means of oral communication, I have two multiple choice questions for you guys. So I want you guys to read this question. You can discuss it with your friends, or you can do it by yourself, and carefully select your answer. So now you have some time. Let's read the first question together. Which of the following is not a mean of communicating? Which of the following is not a mean of communicating? So they're asking you, which of the following is not a mean of communicating, how we don't communicate? A, written. B, official. C, oral. Let me go over again. Which of the following is not a mean of communicating? A, written. B, official. C, oral. All those who think A is the answer, raise your hand. Okay. All who think B is the answer, indicate. Okay. And C. All who think C is the answer, indicate. That's very good of you guys. Most of you guys got the answer correct. The answer is B, official. Official is not a mean of communicating. It's a classification of communication. Let's go to the second question. Let's read together. All of the following are means of communicating orally, except. All of the following are means of communicating orally, except. So they are telling you that all the following are means of communicating orally, except for one of the given results here. So we have A, sign language between deaf persons. Sign language between deaf persons. B, explaining the OA notes to your friends in a class presentation. Explaining the OA notes to your friends in a class presentation. C. A commercial on the radio for a blood donation drive. A commercial on the radio for a blood donation drive. So let me see all who say A is the answer, raise your hands. All who say B is the answer, raise your hand. All who say C is the answer, raise your hand. The answer is A. Sign language between deaf person. Sign language between deaf person is not a mean of oral communication. They're not using their mouths to communicate, they are using their hands. Okay, so I'm very happy that most of you guys got all 2 of those questions correct. Let's move on to our next activity. So most of you guys got all of those, the 2 multiple choice question correct. I'm proud of you guys. So let's see if you guys can move on to something a bit more challenging. So here I will put on my projector and I will place on the projector a set of scenarios, and I want you guys to match those scenarios to the various means of oral communication. So here it is. So we have in one column means of communication, and in the next column we have scenarios. So we have in the means of communication interview, radio, conference, telephone, and meeting. I want you guys to read the scenario. You can read it with your friends or in a group and decide which of the following match together. So let me read the scenario for you guys. The first scenario: Jill is being asked questions by Mr. Jones about her work experience in the kitchen. That's the first scenario. The second scenario: paying keen attention to each presenter as they share their information. That's the second scenario. Calling in sick for work because you have the flu. That's another scenario. The next scenario: listening to the 6 p.m. news. Listening to the 6 p.m. news. And the last scenario: gathering the staff members together to discuss the staff party. Gathering the staff members together to discuss the staff party. So in your group, you guys discuss, and then we discuss the various. So in your group, you guys discuss which scenario matches which mean, and then we're going to discuss later into matching these scenarios together. So we have the first scenario: interview. Can anyone tell me what scenario matches that? That is correct. Jill being asked question by Mr. Jones about her work experience in the kitchen. That one sounds more like an interview. That is, Jill is being interviewed by Mr. Jones about her work experience. She's probably applying for a kitchen job or so. So the first scenario matches the interview. So radio, which of these scenario matches the radio? Listening to the 6 o'clock news. That is correct. So normally have on the radio or the television, that the news play, and it's normally play at 6 o'clock or the 7 o'clock news. So listening to the 6 o'clock news mostly relates to the radio. Conference. I know this one's a bit tricky. Can someone? Yes. That is correct. Paying keen attention to each presenter as they share their information. That one was a bit tricky because you have to remember that a conference have more than one presenter, and in this scenario the person is paying keen attention to each presenter. That one gave that answer away, that let's say each presenter, so we know that it's a conference the person is sitting in or is attending there. Telephone. Yes, that is correct. Calling in sick for work because you have the flu. You can't go to work, so you can't tell because you have the flu you're too sick to go to work. So you can't go to work and tell your boss or your manager that you are sick. You most likely have to call in using the telephone. And meeting. That is correct. Gathering the staff members together to discuss the staff party. So a meeting is normally a small amount of person and they're gathered together for a specific person, in this case to discuss the staff party. So now that we have all finished that activity, the matching activity, I have one more activity before we close off today. That is a picture activity. I want you guys to look at the picture, discuss with your friend, and come up with what means of oral communication the person or the picture is portraying. So here's the first picture. We see someone there is talking. What are they talking on? Okay, let me ask you. Yes, Lindsay, what do you think this picture is portraying? That's correct. It's portraying talking orally through the telephone, or telephone, communicating through the telephone. That's correct. Let me skip to the next picture. So okay, there are two persons talking here in this picture here. What do you think the picture is portraying, Chandrauti? That is correct. It's portraying an interview. It looks like somebody is interviewing the other person. Let me move to the next picture. Yes. So look at this one here, Maglin. You have a group of persons here and there, like they're discussing something. What do you think this is? Yes, it is a meeting, or most likely it is a meeting. They're communicating at a meeting. And finally, look at this picture here. You have a large group of persons here. So what do you think it is, Marika? That's correct. It's a conference. Okay, class, so I hope that you guys had fun today and you learned something. So what did we did today in class? Yes, we talked about the various means of communication. We list the various means, which are oral, written, electronical, and visual. And we discussed some means of oral communication, and we say that oral communication is speaking or talking. And some means of communicating orally are interview, we have meeting and conferences, the radio and television, and we have the telephone. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's class, and I will see you in the next class. Have a good day.